Surrender is not in my vocabulary, pal.
You heard him, fans. One Big Boss here. Hope you have your arcade sticks out because it's finally here. Capcom brings you the fight that only happens twice in 1 year? Well, yeah, like I said, the game is something that has caused much hype and much controversy in the gaming community. So I'm here to set the record straight, or at least try to, and show you what this game has to offer. So without further ado, let's get into Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Back in July of 2011 at the San Diego Comic-Con, announcements were made of a new version for Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Added to this game was a new roster of characters, story, and modes of play with enhancements to the characters and balancing out the roster of impressive yet some overpowered characters. The original MVC3 was half and half, as they say. It was about 50% complete of the original project, leaving out much wanted characters and modes at the time. So now, 6 months later, here we are. But honestly, did we really gain back a lot by having to pay only $40 to get the game? That wasn't even close to like a year old yet. Many have spoken out about this, and it's a mixed feeling all around the fighting community, really. But, you know, this is what we're here to find out anyway. The story has remained unchanged for the most part. Nothing was really added to it either, except for the new characters that were put into the game. But it's a fighting game, and a lot of fighting games aren't known for their stories. Some do, they just don't cover it much within the actual games. But you'd think with a list like this, of all these characters, you'd think we would have got a pretty big story anyway. A new comic book-like layout was given to us fans to make it seem like an actual Marvel comic. I guess that's pretty cool in the end, and both rosters have been separated in comic book page form as well. One side's Capcom, the other Marvel. It's pretty much the same as before, but now it seems to be more even out, like you can see who you want to choose more easier than the first time, and everybody being just clumped together all at once like they were the first time. New modes for online have been added as well, with the ability to actually watch matches now called Spectator Mode, instead of just sitting in the lobby waiting for a battle. This way, you can watch your opponent's moves and learn how they fight, unless they switch up to another character or something. If they keep the same team, at least you'll have a pretty good idea of how they fight, and that might help you during your next match. But honestly, it's a lot better watching your opponents play than just sitting around doing nothing. At least this way, like I said, you'll be able to figure out what you want exactly in a match. You can go through, check out everybody's abilities, and plus it doesn't look like it slows down either with that many people in a lobby. I've only had like a few people in a lobby, so I'm not too sure, but I don't think they'll have that problem, honestly. Also added was a few new Redux levels from the first game. I've played on them all, and honestly, they look cool, but a few newer stages would have been nice to add to this game as well. I am sure the Marvel and Capcom fans have said which stages they'd like to see, and I know I've read about them online. People want more stages, more interactive ones to make the game look good, because if you've ever played Marvel vs. Capcom 2, you remember how those stages changed up. Even though like there was only like a few stages, they were pretty memorable, and so was the music to them as well. But if you don't understand this, then think back to the days of Marvel superheroes for the arcade and the PlayStation 1. Then you'll know what I'm talking about, like the stages with Wolverine, how he was on that bridge that broke after a while, or the Incredible Hulk's level, which enabled you to activate a carousel after fighting on it for so long. The controlling on the game I find to be even better than the first game, and I have certainly felt the nerfs and the buffs for this one as well. But honestly, some characters I use, such as Wesker, I don't feel too much of a change in their fighting style. And trust me, I've read the changes on all the characters too. But honestly, I feel like they're all a little bit more balanced out. Even the ones that got nerfed, I still say they're good characters, but I understand some people's anger, like my buddy who was talking about you can't block it during an air dash anymore. And I understand why people would be mad about that. And then because, you know, Morgan players especially, like, she was a character that people would always, like, you know, like, dodge forward and just come right down to attack. So I do understand their anger. These changes were all done, though, to bring newer fans to the series who may not be fluent in fighting games or have played this specific series before. And also to balance out some of the characters, because as we all noticed in the first one, people like Wesker, you know, was just really overpowered. And, you know, Sentinel, a lot of guys were overpowered, and you just couldn't really do anything against them. Freaking Akuma players. But anyway, this was all done, and honestly, I've fought a lot of people online so far. I seem to be doing a little bit better in this one thanks to all the buffs and nerfs. but you know, new characters like Hawkeye and Nemesis, I really do like them. I like what the series did with them, putting them in here. They all seem really good, and people are phenomenal online with them. And it doesn't feel like they're being cheap either. And, you know, I think that's going to be a good selling point for this game, the fact that everybody can just jump in, and it's not as cheap as it was before with constant spamming of X Factor and other moves. Okay, now we're on the part that a lot of people enjoy hearing about and also dread hearing about. But like I've always said, it's gotta be done. So, first off, let's start with good. The first good is, a much better netcode was put into this game. Remember how the first one worked? If you tried to go online, find a match, you couldn't find it, they kick you all the way back to the main menu, and you'd have to start all over again and wait a little bit? Well, it really bothered me because for a while I was having a hard time finding other people or connecting with other people online. But now we don't have to worry about that, it seems. We're even able to create our own games now, too, which I was surprised that was left out in the first one. Second off, lobbies are a lot better with the Spectator Mode in place now, which is good because I got tired of watching the cards look like they were doing the worm or something. Because honestly, when I was playing with a bunch of my friends, I wanted to see their style, I wanted to see what they learned. I mean, that's just my opinion, but I know a lot of other people felt the same way. Third off, I was really very impressed that they added the Nemesis to this game, because honestly, this is what I've been waiting for. I'm a huge Resident Evil 3 fan, and the Nemesis is just amazing. Also, the addition of Iron Fist was something that I was happy about, because I love Bruce Lee like fighters, like Fei Long from Street Fighter, Jan Lee from Dead or Alive, and of course, Martial Law from Tekken. So, having Iron Fist put into this, I was very happy. I still haven't learned all of his moves yet. I thought it'd be easier for me to control him, but it's not. But I'm working on it, that I promise you. And Rocket Raccoon, he's just hilarious. How can you not love his little sayings? He's just...
That's for letting him mess up Raccoon City, you wanker!
Do I need to say anything else?
Didn't even need my spider sense for that one.
And now, for the bad news, sadly. Now honestly, I understand fans wanted more from this game, and as much as I love some of the new characters, I can still... Well, I really can't understand some of the characters that were put in. The biggest one, and it's a huge online joke that hasn't been added, is Megaman. I don't understand why, because the Blue Bomber got cancelled altogether, why we took him out of this game. I just don't understand their reasoning. Also, I was hoping for other characters like Guile from Street Fighter, Venom and Carnage, War Machine, even Black Cat or Dr. Octopus. I was really hoping they'd make the cut, but in the end, I guess they just didn't. And now we got characters like Nova, Firebrand, and of course, Phoenix Wright. I'm sorry, I love Screaming Objection just as much as the next guy, but I don't really see the need for him in here. If you wanted a joke character, you put Dan from Street Fighter in, because at least, as big of a goof as he is, he can still fight somewhat, you know what I mean? So, I don't know, I don't understand their logic. Maybe they just wanted to sell the game by putting Phoenix Wright in. I really don't know. Also, the mission modes, you still have to pause the game and then go into the option menu and then go to mission objective, and it'll tell you what to do to complete the thing. I mean, this is pretty much easy. Some of these moves are really easy to do, but unfortunately, when you get up to the bigger chain combos, you have to memorize all those steps, and it's really hard because they're not spread out or given to you up top on the screen like they were in like Dead or Alive 4. So, I mean, this was a problem for me because as good of a fighter as I am, I'd like to get better, but I just can't remember all these steps if they're not right there in front of me, and I can continuously go over them with the arcade stick of the controller. So, with all that out of the way, is this game worth a buy after only being out for 6 months for it to be a re-release? If you're a fighting fan, or a Marvel boy, or a Capcom follower, then yes, especially if you didn't buy it 6 months ago. Well, at $40, I don't think it should be. I think it should be, you know, at least $30, because if I remember correctly, when Super Street Fighter 4, the arcade edition came out, I think it was only like $30 or $35 as the disc. I think it was $15 as DLC. So, yeah, that's what I have to think about that, you know. Honestly, if you're not a fighting fan, or, you know, you're just not a hardcore fighter, then I wouldn't recommend buying this, honestly, because you might just have fun playing the old one. Alright viewers, that does it for episode 3, the review of Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Hopefully you've enjoyed this little review, and if you haven't already, please be so kind and subscribe to our channel, and leave some comments below, because it's free, and in this day and age, free is a damn good thing. Tune in next week as we take a trip back in time. two different time periods anyway. The era of the PlayStation 2 and the era of the ninjas. Episode 4 will be Tenchi Wrath of Heaven, and it will be taken from the shadows of my collection, and reviewed for anyone who is a ninja lover or a fan of Japanese history. So, everyone, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next time.